At this point, I'm taking a 6 a.m. flight to my father's. I wasn't thinking about the trip to my father's. I was thinking more about the past couple days, past couple months, possibly even the past couple years. You see, therapy wasn't helping. Therapy only seemed to make things worse. To sit there and talk about my emotions as they were going on. I felt like we were making no progress. I felt like every time I tried to implement what was being asked of me, that it was for a loss. I felt like I was playing a one-sided game, to be honest. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. At that point, all I know was I was going to my father's. 6 a.m. flight, getting ready to get on the plane. I'm hoping that maybe I can actually get some clarity on the subject. Maybe these next couple days, I get to go spend some time with my father, my sister. Maybe I can determine what exactly is going on. Getting away from the situation. Yes, I see all the red flags. They're there, they're obvious. I know that they're there. But yet I choose to ignore them. Yeah, there's been many fights about it. Yeah, you feel like you're always correct. They feel in turn that they're always correct. And somewhere in between lies the truth. But nonetheless, I get to New York after about a 2-hour trip. And when I get there, I'm greeted by my sister. I'm excited to see her. It's been a couple months at that point since I've actually seen my sister. And I spent a couple days with my sister and my father. In this particular moment, her husband, my nephew were there as well. And it was nice to be around family. Now, funny being that said, because typically, you think about your immediate family, my wife at the time and my 2 kids. And at that point, you really don't know where things are going. I mean, you do know where they're going, but you essentially don't own up to it. You're kind of hoping that by some miracle, this whole thing gets washed up and things go back to what was normal, what was fun. That life that you essentially built up to. At this point, I wasn't seeing it. At this point, it was a grind to do anything. Honestly, at this point, I was getting to the point where I would start dreading going home. That's like one of the worst possible feelings you can have when you are married, right? You want your home to be essentially your home. You want to feel comfortable. You want to feel respected in your home. You want all these things in your home. And I wasn't feeling any of that. But why hadn't I pulled the trigger? I didn't honestly know. And so, here's where I am. I'm on this trip, seeing my family, trying to determine what exactly I'm going to be doing when I come back. I told myself that when I come back, I'll have an answer. At this point, the trip was 4 or 5 days. And so, after, the 3rd day, I started getting more clarity. Started having a couple different conversations about what I felt, what was going on. I think it's just hearing yourself talk sometimes. You kind of get the clarity that you need. Because a lot of times you can have the thoughts in your head, and a lot of times you're looking for someone to justify the reasoning or your gut feeling that you have inside. For me, it seemed like things were changing. Anytime I was in that environment where I was around her friends, it began to get awkward. Again, yet another red flag. But again, I felt there was a way I could fix it. And I think being as a man always wants to try to fix anything. Majority of the time, men want to try to fix it. And at this point, I was starting to wonder if it was for nothing. And I ended up getting to a point to where this was the make or break. And that's why I came up with the decision that I would have to do something after this trip. I think I let it go for too long. The therapy wasn't helping, the dates every other weekend, they weren't helping. There was a big disconnect. You can over-communicate. Maybe just neither one of us were there. I don't know. But there were red flags. It was blatantly obvious. But yet we ran away from actually trying to fix it and instead finding other ways to essentially just delay the inevitable. But not this time. This time I wanted to find what the reason was. And so, that being said, after the trip, I knew what I had to do. It became obvious to me, all those red flags, all the things that I was seeing, all the effort that I was putting into it. The return on investment wasn't there anymore. There was more damage being done than anything actually progressing. And so, coming back, I knew what my decision would be. I would give an ultimatum. That's exactly what I did. Needless to say, we've moved on, and now I'm here. But the things is that those red flags, sometimes it could be blatantly obvious. Sometimes it's a gut feeling. But ultimately, you know the true reason behind it. Is it really going to fix itself? In my particular situation, I didn't think it was. I didn't feel that there was any progress. I think at that particular point that, you get to a point where I think you've damaged the relationship so much that there's no coming back. You can attempt, put on a smiling face, in hopes that it will eventually recover. But here we are.